Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook app out there. I'm your host, Rudo, joined by AJ Haefele. With 2 games left in the season, the Avs are still trying to chase down the President's Trophy. It's very much an option for them to take in a myriad of different scenarios through these last 2 games, whether it be them simply winning out or getting a little bit of help as well. AJ, is the President's Trophy important? Does it matter?
I mean, I don't think it's the curse that other people try and pretend it is.
Sure,
but yeah, I think I think this year it'll matter because you're going to get home ice against a team you haven't played.
That's true.
A version of a team that you have never seen before. So I feel like there's comfort in that, you know?
Yeah.
Do you really want to fly back in and try and take 7 games in Carolina? Do you want to have to go there 4 times to win?
I mean, do you want to have to go anywhere 4 times to win?
That's what I'm saying.
Talk about a year in which things are so jumbled already. And you could legitimately be talking about a semifinal with a ridiculous distance of travel. You're going into Game 7. Both teams are beat up to hell. One gets to fly home and sleep in their own bed, whereas one has to go sleep in a hotel.
Yeah. I mean, if they end up playing the Canadian division winner,
yep,
we don't even know where they're going to be.
There's a whole other question mark there of how do they even manage that with border crossings and things going on. So
yeah, like we don't. Chances are they're going to have to go to they're going to have to
neutral city type of thing. Yeah,
that they end up going to. You don't want to mess with any of that. You want to just be in Denver.
Yep.
Make Edmonton, make Connor McDavid come and carve you up in Denver instead.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know how big of an advantage home ice is on any given season. I know it's an advantage. I just don't have the numbers in front of me. But it certainly feels like a bigger one this year than in previous years, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like 3rd round and stuff, but you just look at Colorado, Minnesota, and Vegas.
Yep.
Those 3 teams have been exceptional at home, and they've been pretty good on the road. So I think it's an important chase. It's not like the end all be all. It's not like, oh my God, you know, if they don't get it,
sure,
it'll be okay.
Yeah, you're not losing your mind, but
you know, you remember that 0-1 team was a little obsessed with it because they were sick of losing Game 7s on the road. They had to go to Dallas for Game 7 back-to-back years, and they didn't like that. So I think it's I think it's important. I mean, this is a team, they've lost Game 7 twice in a row. They've had to be, I guess last year they were on the road because they were in the bubble.
It was an away game technically.
Yeah. So maybe that's a little unfair, but you know that they didn't love being in San Jose for that Game 7.
Yep. It's definitely tough. As Chat is alluding to, 1, they've already started to let fans back in. 2, there's a decent chance, especially if you get later into the playoffs, that the capacity at the building is significantly increased. We talked about this a little bit at the bar last night off air. When they start to get the capacity up in those buildings to the players, it's going to feel like 100,000 people in there.
Yeah.
Because absolutely. They haven't played in front of like more than 2,000 people in well over a year.
Yeah. It's like right now they've got like $4,000 4K people in these arenas. all scattered throughout, right? Where you're
Yep.
like, oh, it feels like a lot of people because it was 0. And they get 15,000 people into a building, and it's
Loud as hell.
It's gonna be a wave of energy.
Yep.
That they're just gonna have to. They're just gonna have to see. You know, I know there are murmurs. I don't know where they are, but that Coors Field is gonna be full attendance by June 1st.
And the playoffs will certainly still be going on June 1st.
So, you know, and the last time that Coors Field decided they were going to do something capacity-wise, and I was like, boy, seems like it's going to happen for Ball Arena too, right? And everybody gave me a huge fucking lecture about the difference between indoor spaces and outdoor spaces. And what happened? Ball Arena had capacity on the same goddamn day.
Yep. It'll be interesting, certainly on that side of it. I did want to focus back on what's left of the regular season, though, and this President's Trophy talk, because as it stands right now, you have the Avs with 78 points. You have Vegas with 80 points, as well as Carolina with 80 points. Now, Carolina is done at 80 points. They cannot earn a single more point, and no one left besides the Avs can hit 80 points.
Yep.
And Vegas, that's already there. So if the Avs went out, they win the trophy, period. Full stop. Doesn't matter. They would be tied at 82 points with Vegas and have all the tiebreakers. So
they have the tiebreaker with Carolina too. So if Vegas loses tomorrow and the Avs comically back it up, you know, they OTL their way into 80 points against the Kings.
They still get there. Yeah.
They still get it. They have regulation win tiebreaker over both Carolina and Vegas. So if they end up in a 3-way tie at the top,
Colorado takes it.
Yeah. And yes, chat, it is, they are reseeding for the
semifinals and up. Yeah.
So you don't really need to reseed for the finals, you know. Obviously, like team with the most regular season points
is gonna get home ice at that point. Yeah.
But that's how they're doing it. They will reseed 1 through 4, and one will play 4 and 2 will play 3.
It's that
so
easy.
Again, you want 1 because you never know. You know, what if Nashville's the team to come out of there?
It could be. Anything's possible.
You look at what if it's the Islanders that come out of there? You know, the Islanders have been exceptional at home this year. Have a losing record on the road. Make them come to Denver.
Yep. And I think especially you talk about a team like the Islanders, that's a direct conflict of matchup with the way the Avs want to play hockey, right? Right now, with the way that the Islanders have played over the last couple of weeks, I mean, right now that's just kind of bad, but
yeah, they are definitely at odds with what Colorado wants to do, because the Islanders have decided that scoring goals is just not cool anymore.
But to the point of, let's face it, there's a very good chance the Avs are going to come up against a slower paced, more drag it out, grind it out oriented team somewhere in the playoffs. Having last change against that is
round 1, bro.
Yeah, it could be round 1. Having last change against that is not nothing. Getting some matchups you want at times can make a big difference.
Yeah, I think I don't think it would matter much against Minnesota or St. Louis.
Definitely not Minnesota.
Well, St. Louis, I think it's fine because both coaches want the matchup. They want the same matchup. That's not a matchup where Bednar has worked hard to avoid O'Reilly with McKinnon.
That's true.
He's been totally good. He's like
best on best, yeah.
Do it. I dare you to do it. And you look at this regular season and how like Ryan O'Reilly popped off in one game.
Yep.
Out of 8. So yeah, the Islanders are losing to the Pens, okay.
Nonetheless though, the President's Trophy, first of all, if anyone knows it's not cursed, it's Avs fans.
Yeah. There's a decent number of President's Trophy winners that have won the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
It's like 6 of the last 20 or something. And it's like, okay. So you mean to tell me 6 of the last 20 number 1 overall seeds have won the Stanley Cup, and then the other 14 have come from all the other seeds?
Seems like it's not a curse at all at that point.
Yeah. When you put it into context like that, it's like, okay, does winning the President's Trophy mean that you're like gifted? Like, well, here's your hall pass to the finals. No, of course not. Still got to go and win. But this is. I find it kind of fascinating that Colorado's in this position, just given the conversation around the Avalanche the last week. They lose to San Jose. Everybody lost their shit about how it was. Oh, they're in 3rd place now. There's no way they can catch Vegas. There's no way they can do any of this. There's no way any of these things can happen that have happened.
And yet, here we are.
Yeah, they now, like, the Avs are 1 point from securing home ice against Minnesota, the thing that everybody was so sure they weren't going to get after they blew that game against San Jose. Granted, had they not blown that game against San Jose, it would be President's
Trophy winners. Yeah.
This would be done. So that's frustrating, but it's and the stigma around the Avs haven't been any good on the road lately. They just went 4-1 on a road trip.
Yep.
So I think that it's just
always what have you done for me lately, though?
They went 4-1 on a road trip. Like,
I know.
You can disparage the quality of teams all you want, but they beat Vegas, right?
And yeah, but 7 games ago they were about to go on a 3-game losing streak. So
yeah, it's true.
It is what it is. We can take our first period break there, as we are brought to you by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You can get it at the DNVR bar on tap, or check out excuse me.
Whoa.
Couldn't get to the mute button.
That startled me, man. Oh my gosh. My brain goes on autopilot when you start reading.
Yeah.
And you just hardcore interrupted that thing.
Check out their 15-can sampler packs as well. The Good Company. Breck Brew Hard Seltzers. Absolutely delicious stuff. You can't get enough of those. They're amazing. Appreciate it, chat. Sometimes you just got to sneeze. It's the way it goes. It happens. We're also brought to you by Solace Meds. You can check them out online or one of their 4 locations here in Colorado, wherever you are, whether it be up in Fort Collins, down here in Denver. They even have a couple of locations in Oklahoma City if you happen to be an Oklahoma fan. Right now, use DNVR20 at checkout online to get 20% off your entire purchase at solacemeds.com. That's SOLACE meds.com. They have some other amazing deals coming up in store as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Be sure to check them out. Go down there, get your amazing products, and support our partners because, we like our partners just like we like you. Also, maybe sign up for a DNVR membership if you do like us, because that helps support us directly. Those are pretty cool. You get a bunch of awesome
I wrote
stuff.
A banger of a piece about Philip Grubauer last night. You guys should go read.
There you go. That's what you're missing out on. Philip Grubauer's a baller.com/AJ Haefele.
That would be the weirdest URL ever.
TheDNVR.com. We have a bunch of amazing content over there and a bunch more coming for the playoffs. Now is the time to sign up if you haven't, because the playoff coverage, we're blowing it out. We're going hard on playoff coverage for sure. So get on it now. If you get the annual subscription, you get a free shirt, you get a free mask, you get bigger beers at the bar, you get all sorts of awesome stuff. The DNVR Lounge, there's a bunch of other stuff that I'm missing too. It's worth it. Trust me. It's worth every single penny. You can always get the monthly subscription as well. If you're a new user, I think it's like 50 cents for a month, just if you want to check us out. So that's basically nothing. Highly recommend. You can also support our other beats if that's more your thing. Whatever works for you. Check us out at thednvr.com. We're more than just a YouTube channel, but we are a YouTube channel as well. So be sure to like and subscribe to the video because that helps us out on YouTube quite a bit. I know we're pulling in some new people as we get closer to the playoffs. So just say hi. Hit the subscribe button, stick around, get us some more subscribers on YouTube, hit the notifications if you really like us and want to see when we go live every single time. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook with Rudo and AJ. Continuing off of this President's Trophy conversation, and I think this is a conversation that if it hasn't started to surround the Avs this year, it's probably something that's coming. And I think the way we framed it is that there are some expectations out of Colorado this year, as opposed to the last couple of years where they were kind of the new kid on the block in the playoffs and pretty much freewheeling for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do expectations become pressure? If you win the President's Trophy, is there more pressure on you to succeed in the playoffs?
Externally, I think so.
Yeah.
Will that matter to them?
Probably not.
I don't think so. Especially because they're still isolated. We're talking about getting fans back in arenas and stuff, and filling up buildings and all that, but nobody's going inside the locker room still.
Yeah.
There's still, they finish up a game, they shed the gear, two of them hop on Zoom for 5 minutes,
Then they dip.
and they're out. They don't have to answer questions about most of the stuff. It's just not. It's not that tough.
Yep.
We had this conversation yesterday. Skywalker says expectation get out of round 2, I'd say. LOL. We talked about this last night sitting at the bar waiting for the game to start. Is that the expectation? Because if the expectation, like Colorado and Vegas are vying for the President's Trophy, the top regular season team in the league, is the expectation that they have to get past Vegas? Well, we're assuming Vegas in round 2. Like, of their round 2 opponents that they would have faced across the last 3 years, this is their best one. Vegas would be the best of those teams.
I mean, I think the expectation is still yes. Like you look at it, and they lost to Dallas, and Dallas went to the Cup Finals. Was that a flash in the pan of magic? Maybe, but they did. So I think it is a reasonable expectation, even if Vegas and the Avs are 1-2 in the league. And look, expectations are always going to be limited by what happens. The way series play out. If you come out of a 7-game series and the Avs ended up losing the series because Nathan McKinnon got hurt, you're like, well, okay, what are you going to do?
Well, that's not the seed. Last year, they're screwed. Michael Hutchinson plays 3 of those games.
Right. There's a very good chance they win that series if Philip Grubauer is healthy.
Right. And so there's a huge caveat there. And it's viewed as such a disappointment that Colorado didn't make it out of that series.
Is it viewed as a disappointment? But I think
Yes,
there's like
look
a
at
little.
just look at the chat. Look at what the people who care about the Avs are saying. Yes,
I don't know that.
there's apparently 2 second round losses has created a stigma.
So here's the thing, like, I think we're misplacing the disappointment of the Avs not getting out of round 2 last year, because I think the disappointment is that there was an opportunity to do the thing last year that was missed, and that's disappointing. It's not disappointing that the Avs didn't win a series with their 5th goaltender in net.
I just think that if they had lost to Calgary as the 8th seed the year before,
yeah,
and they had gotten to the second round last year, everybody would just be excited. But because they got to the second round 2 years ago and then got to game 7, because they got to the second round and then got to game 7 last year, you remember they were down 3-1 in that series.
Yep.
And they pushed it all the way, not only to game 7, but they had a 1-goal lead with 4 minutes to go. They were there. They were home.
I don't have these numbers. AJ, I know you've looked at the numbers on teams that have made the second round multiple times.
Yeah, it was only 4 teams over the last 2 years that had made it to the second round.
To see how many teams have not made the third round in the past 10, 15 years. Because I bet it's a bunch.
The Avs have the 3rd longest conference finals drought in the NHL right now.
Okay.
The Avs haven't been to the third round since 2002.
Yeah, it's been a long time for the Avs. I'm curious if you go back to like 2010, how many teams wouldn't have a conference finals appearance? I'm not sure, but don't have that information readily available. It's something that's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and for a lot of the teams, like Arizona, like the time Arizona made it, it's a one-off.
Yep.
There's really only a couple of them that
have done it somewhat consistently.
Yeah. Look, the expectation is that they are a cup contender, but the reality is that the Blue Jackets have not done it. They're one of the teams. They've never done it.
Yeah.
They're one of the teams that has a drought longer than Colorado, Toronto being the other.
Yeah, that one is.
Well, they're tied. I think they're tied with Colorado, 2002. So
there you go. The more you know. So how do you balance this? Because it feels like this is a situation where it's always easy to move the goalposts, right? Because if the Avs make the conference finals, suddenly everyone's going to be hungry for a cup. The conference finals aren't going to be enough.
Everybody's hungry for a cup. Anyway, yeah, Florida was the other team.
Florida, they haven't won a playoff series since '96, right? I think that's what it is. But
yeah, I think you're right. They've only made the postseason like 6 times.
And that they have to go through Tampa Bay to win a playoff series this year, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, on the flip side, Tampa Bay has to go through Florida.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a baller series. Don't get me wrong, but
that's number 1 on my series to watch list.
There you go.
Yes, Grant.
Yep. What? So is the take here throw expectations out the window and just be happy, or
no?
Where do you draw the line?
No, there's a standard, man. When they open up training camp and they say all we care about is the cup, and every single time that they lose, they say, look, we set a certain standard here and it's really high. We want to be the best in the league and we want to chase down the division title and the President's Trophy, and we want the number 1 seed, and we want home ice, and we want this, and we want that. It's because they expect themselves to win the Stanley Cup this year. That's their goal. And that should be the fan base's goal. That's exactly how they should feel.
Yeah.
That's exactly the expectation that they have set around this club, and their play has set around there. You don't make it to the last 2 games of the regular season and be one of the last 3 teams standing for the President's Trophy and not be a cup contender. You just don't. It doesn't make any sense. You have to be that. The fact that the route could be really difficult.
Tough.
Yeah. All right. Guess what? If it was a regular year and they were doing the normal playoffs with Vegas in their division again, they'd be playing in round 2 anyway. So that's just how the cookie crumbled this year.
Look, the Avs are no stranger to playing the hardest opponent in the playoffs before the Cup Finals. They did it with Detroit for years.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you look at Detroit and Colorado, those were the Cup Finals for several years.
They were playing to see who gets to dunk on the team from the East, basically.
There were 3 straight years where the East didn't win a game in the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, New Jersey had to airdrop in just to keep the East from being totally embarrassed anymore. And even that didn't go well all the time.
Yep. It could be... I see chat asking, does the West play the North to get to the finals? No, not necessarily. So the semifinals are reseeded.
Based on regular season standings.
Based on the regular season standings, which, as it stands right now today, the top 4 seeds in the league are Vegas, Carolina, Florida, and Colorado.
Let's assume Colorado comes out of the West.
That's what I was
so we can look at what that route would look like. Okay.
If we assume Colorado wins the President's Trophy, your top 4 seeds are Colorado, Vegas, Carolina, and Florida. Colorado will have already beaten Vegas to get to the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina and Florida would have met, and one of them would have won. Let's just assume it's Carolina, or maybe they beat.
Just assume that the top 4. Just assume Colorado wins the President's Trophy and the top 4 seeds win. It would be Colorado versus Toronto and Pittsburgh versus Carolina.
Yep.
And then the winners of those would go to the finals.
Yep. So if the top seeds all push through, Colorado happens to get the team from the North. But depending on how the seeds fall and who wins, Colorado could play anyone from the playoffs, essentially.
Yep.
So it's very much up in the air. On that note, we can take our second period break as we are brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee, the CBD-infused coffee that has really changed lives. You can get it online at StravaCraftCoffee.com and get 25% off when you use code DNVR25 at checkout. If you want to check it out at the DNVR bar, we also have cold brew down there, so you can try it before you buy it. It's awesome. It helps with migraines, other aches and pains, IBS, joint pain, stuff like that. So it is super cool. Highly recommend it if you're dealing with a little bit of pain. Check it out. It's today. Also brought to you by Haefele Cattle Company. We brought you damn good beer. Now we're bringing you damn good beef as well. You can get 10% off when you go online with them and use code DNVR10 at haeselecattle.com. They have the best Wagyu beef in the U.S. Just go down to the DNVR bar as well. I love that we have all of our products like in the DNVR bar now, by the way.
It's cool.
It's super awesome to just tell people, go to the bar and try it. And when you love it, then you can go buy more of it because that's how we rock our products. It's that easy. We have their beef burgers, Wagyu beef burgers down at the bar. If you want to get them there, if you want to order their stuff online, you can order $200 worth and get free shipping. Do the group order like we do here at DNVR. It's a great way to save yourself a little bit of money and get yourself set up with a whole big old box of meat. Finally, but certainly not least, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one rated sportsbook out there. They have the $1 bet for a $100 win offer going on right now for UFC 262. Bet on the main event, pick someone to win. If you're correct, you turn $1 into $100. It's just that simple. It's coming up this weekend. Look, it's just easy money. When you can jump on that, use code DNVR to sign up with a new account to get that offer on the 100-1 odds to pick the fighter you like. It's an awesome way to get into MMA. If you don't like it, check it out. I like MMA quite a bit. I think it's super fun to watch. If that's not your thing, though, they have plenty of odds boosts every single day on basketball, hockey, baseball, football, other crazy sports. Whatever you want to bet on, you can bet on it over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Some of them border on even being sports, I would say, but you can pretty much bet on it. So they're super secure, safe, and reliable as well. You can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. You don't have to wait or anything like that. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Be sure to use that DNVR code when you sign up to get the $1 into $100 offer on either of the main event fighters. You can place your bet whenever, even after the event starts. If you have it not placed it at that point, if you get it in before the main event, you're good to go. So jump on it. It's a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. AJ,
What up, homie?
does anyone remember who the President's Trophy winners are? Because I feel like the answer to that is pretty much no.
Who won it last year?
I don't know. I
I
can't
don't
tell
know.
you.
I also do not remember.
It feels like one of those things, right? Where like,
I only remember 2 years ago because Tampa Bay was.
well, that you don't remember the President's Trophy. You remember an absurdly historic season from a team that like did things that no one was ever doing before.
Last year it was Boston.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I forgot Colorado finished third in that race.
Yep. They were not that far out.
Yeah. 2 points back of the Blues with the game in hand. And they had a head-to-head that they were still supposed to play.
So my point being,
crazy how short the between the divisions this year, the tilt. Only one team with a points percentage over 700 last year.
yeah, and now there's what, like 6 or 7? 4, 5, only 5 over 700 at the moment.
Yeah, and Minnesota could
get back there,
Yeah, they
depending
could
on the
sneak
end of
up.
their year. Yeah,
That's crazy.
it.
One team last year, and there's 6 of them.
Well, I mean, you've said it. When you get to play teams like LA and San Jose 8 times,
Yeah, it's really interesting.
But the point here to be made is, does the regular season really matter that much? I mean, yes, you get home ice, but nobody's going to remember, oh, you were the best team in the regular season.
I think
People
the regular
remember-
season matters this year because it's all division. You play all the same teams. They have 8 games that they will have against their
lot of
first
footage to roll through.
Yeah, their first round, and if they advance their second round opponents, they will have already played eight times.
Yep.
They have a 7-game series against any of them.
That's 15 games.
15 games against one team in a single season.
That's like baseball series
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah.
The question is, are the Avs going to be the Rockies or are they going to be the Dodgers?
Oh boy. That's it's a conversation that we could have. Maybe shouldn't. But yes, like
Or the Giants or the Padres.
Scheduling wise, home ice wise, opportunity wise, yeah, sure, it matters.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, history doesn't care.
Yeah.
The President's Trophy winner is just a little footnote written in the book of NHL records, and that's about it.
Look, it's a dope banner that you earned.
Sure.
Now, what you do with it is up to you, but you get to toss that banner up in your arena, and you should.
You win enough banners without a cup, aren't you just Nashville, though?
Well, they made a banner up.
I know.
Your Western Conference regular season champions.
Yeah, I know, but still not the worst.
I have no issues with the team putting a President's Trophy banner in their building. It's an accomplishment. You go through an entire regular season, and to be first at the end of it, you've earned it. You've earned a trophy. Toss that bitch up in the sky. That's awesome.
So
just don't make a banner up being the team that, like, oh, they didn't win the President's Trophy, but they were the number 1 seed in the West. So Western Conference regular season champions. But division titles, Stanley Cup banners, President's Trophy, yeah, those all belong up there. Put them all up there.
Would you rather have Nashville's made-up banner or retire number 1 for your fans?
I would rather not be embarrassing and do either one of those things.
All right. I'll let you out this time. I'll let you off the hook. Continuing through the playoffs, though. This is a season where we don't know how the schedule is going to work. It's starting to seem like the plan, with the first games already announced to be starting Saturday, that they're going to have a staggered schedule for the playoffs for the first time in a long time. At least a significantly staggered schedule.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna make watching the first round kind of weird.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, it might be nice, honestly, depending on how much time off there is. You can get to see a bit more of other series, but I do wonder how this playoffs gets handled on the whole. There's been a lot of, obviously this is NBC's last year of hosting the playoffs. At this point, the Olympics are still good to go. They're gonna happen.
We'll see.
They haven't canceled them yet, man.
Yeah, there's so many issues with that, man. That's just we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But as of right now, they're still on. So scheduling the playoffs could be interesting. I don't know. It's going to be a weird year of playoffs.
Yeah. Last year with everyone in the bubble, it was really easy.
Yeah.
They even had back-to-backs in the postseason last year.
Yeah.
That was...
And you just fired them off, which... And to my point earlier, with the semifinals potentially having a significantly more grueling schedule of travel, depending on who you play and where you have to play, you could see that being an issue, especially if they have to pack that into a tight schedule, which I don't think we're expecting back-to-backs to happen this year, but
no, we're not.
Even then, every other day type of stuff, especially if you get into game 5, 6, and 7, where it's travel.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough if it's like fly to Carolina, or I use Carolina just because it's a tough place to get
it's
to.
far as hell. Yeah.
You fly to Carolina, you play, you land, you play the next day, bags packed, you fly back home, 1:00 in the morning, come back.
Yep.
Next day, you practice and then you play after. It's tough.
Yeah.
Especially with the way that, as you mentioned, with 5, 6, and 7, it's back and forth. So
who knows? I think it'll be interesting to see. I'll put it that way.
We mentioned this earlier in the show, but Canadian teams are likely to have to find a sister city that they just set up shop in for the last 2 rounds of the postseason.
Aren't like some of the
They're not letting
like shut down through the rest of May even, so
Yep.
So yeah, it's gonna be tough for that.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how things progress. They have 2 rounds to try and figure something out, but right now they've got bigger problems than hockey.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, deal with more important stuff first. No, not gonna make any arguments there. And I mean, honestly, there's a whole other question with the North Division, right? Presumably, if Montreal can win a hockey game, their playoffs will be set relatively soon.
They're locked in, by the way.
Oh, did they finish?
Yeah.
They finally get
they clinched.
So they're clinched, and
the only thing, all of the matchups are set
except for the West.
I guess Winnipeg lost their way back to Montreal.
Mm.
So Winnipeg and Montreal still have seeding implications. And then the West. The top three.
Yeah, but like one of the biggest implications for a wacky playoff schedule is Vancouver has 6 regular season games left.
We'll see.
Is the NHL actually going to play them out? Is the question.
Yeah. Does Vancouver really need to play Calgary or whoever's on their schedule when they're out of it already? Is there really? Are you really gonna? Could you imagine? Let's see. Let me look at Vancouver's schedule real quick so I can at least give a realistic example.
While you're looking this up,
yeah, Vancouver and Calgary play in 2 days. So could you imagine? These are 2 teams that are eliminated from the postseason that do not need to be playing.
Yeah.
Imagine one of those guys going out there and blowing a knee.
Yeah, it'd be bad.
And that guy, and we're in the middle of May.
That's gonna easily ride into next season.
Yeah. You're talking 6 months for rehab, 6 to 8 months for a major knee injury. You're getting into the end of the year. You're months into that's carrying over for no reason. You don't need to seed. You don't need to play these games for seeding in the draft.
You don't need to.
You don't need to.
But
you
I
can
think
use
they
the
will.
points percentage, and I'm saying I fully expect that they will. But it's stupid. Daniel with a great point. No fans are even allowed in there.
Yeah.
All you're doing is filling television ad inventory for just a small handful of games. If I'm the players, I have no interest in those games. That's I would not be playing those games. That's bad business.
I mean, you signed up for 56 when you started the season, right?
Yeah, well, you signed up for a lot of being taken advantage of by the league. And I just think that's you got 2 teams that are eliminated. There's no upside in it. There's no seeding. There's none of that. You don't need to play for seeding for the draft. You have points percentage that can do all of that. I just that's crazy to me.
I mean, is that any different than like San Jose and Anaheim playing a game late in the season then?
Those were already scheduled. They extended the season specifically to put these games in.
I understand.
Because you can cut those games off and start the North Division postseason 4 days earlier or whatever. So they instead of having, a week and a half gap between game 1, Washington and Boston this Saturday, and then whenever the North Division gets going, I would be uninterested as a player.
There's
I would be,
certainly-
and I would be frustrated of being asked to make.
And I mean, there's
to play that game.
certainly, when it comes to the playoffs, there's certainly a fear, right? Like, what if you're the 1 seed, you're the Avs as the 1 seed, and this is a fantasy thing, not a real scenario. Let's say you go sweep round 1-2, and you're sitting there, and they can't seed the semifinals until the North Division is decided. You could be sitting there for a week and a half, 2 weeks, waiting just for an opponent.
It'll be really interesting to see how off things get.
Yeah.
Because if they were to, in this comically over the top scenario, sweep,
This is the extreme of the extremes, to be clear. But
they go sweep, and they're just sitting there. They've got the granddaddy of all momentum that's about to get rocked.
Hit a brick wall of 2 weeks.
I mean, this happened. Colorado sports fans remember this is what happened in 2007 because they did.
They went sweep.
Yeah, and they rolled on into the World Series, and then spent 9 days sitting around.
Yeah, it was 8 or 9 days, I think,
and it just ruined them.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be weird.
It's a good. Kyle has a good suggestion too.
Yeah,
they don't even need to wait. The North doesn't need to wait for those games to finish. The Vancouver versus Edmonton doesn't need it for seeding purposes.
Nope.
And it's just Calgary against Vancouver a bunch of times. So they really don't need. They could start the postseason while those games are going on if they wanted to avoid any of that.
Totally could. Probably should, honestly.
Yeah. If as soon as the seeding is locked in, they should go.
Yep.
Give those guys a couple of days off and then go.
Yep, exactly. All right. I think we covered the topic pretty well, AJ. You got any President's Trophy final thoughts, playoff final thoughts here before
I don't want to talk too much about specifics because we have a lot of preview stuff that we would like to get into this weekend, really.
Yeah.
Realistically is what we're looking at.
With games Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have our usual coverage there, especially because, turns out those games do have President's Trophy implications. Yeah,
tomorrow's game for sure.
Yep.
Will matter.
So keep your ear to the ground. Yeah, I guess that's the one for our post-game shows and all of that. After that, we'll have plenty of playoff preview stuff coming all y'all's way. Thank you for watching, listening, however you consume the podcast. We appreciate all of y'all very, very much. It's a 7 o'clock game tomorrow, so we won't be up until the middle of the night, just late at night.
Yeah.
A little bit of a change of pace there, but we're out of here. Thank you again, chat, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.